Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video. A lot of people have been asking me these questions quite a lot over a long period of time, and I figured let's just make a video to explain this in a easy way. We're going to talk about Sirus mechanics and how to actually do this fight. How you can actually kill this boss piss easy. First off, we have one thing to mention, that the difficulty between Awakener 9 versus Awakener 0 is extremely small. The only difference is a little bit more life and a little bit more damage, right? So obviously you want to avoid being one-shot, and the only thing that really matters is not getting one-shot by the tunnel 1-2-1-2 attack. I'll explain this in a second. As long as you're not going to get one-shot by that, you're more than fine to do this with lackluster gear, shit builds, and whatnot. Another thing to mention when it comes to minions, for example, is that you don't want your minions to sit in damage over time on the ground. Always save your convocation to convocate your minions away from when he's doing the quad beam, also known as the die beam, and I'll explain these things. So that's the only thing you need to think about. The fight itself is piss easy, so I'm going to just do a lot of fucking paint work here, and you guys can call me Picasso. If you love the artwork I'll do here on this video, let me know in the comments below. I'm probably gonna make this a PNG file you can buy for $6 million if you want to buy this picture when we're done. So basically, this fight is pretty simple. There are 4 different sequences where you fight them. The first 3 sequences are phase 1s. They're identical phase 1 situations, and the 4th time is a phase 2 fight. So the green image, or the green cross, will be the player, and then the red one will be the actual boss. Now, these are the phase 1s, so we're going to just say this is phase 1, and which will fight 3 times. Now, phase 1 means that you have the apparition. I'm not going to paint the apparition, who is going to be in the middle at all times during these 3 sequences. And Sirus himself starts here, and then he immediately teleports to anywhere on the side of the map. When he does, he will end up, let's say, here. So first off, the apparition. The thing is that the apparition is doing is that he places either small little fucking pools of exploding fire. These things are the most dangerous thing that can occur. If you see these, get the fuck away from them, and then, you know, let them explode, and then you have the possibility to move into that area again. Stay away from that. That's very simple. He does a fire beam where he shoots down big fat beams like this, but they start on the corners and then they move in like this, right? And then they end up in just being charged in the middle. During the air phase, or the storm phase, whatever you want to call it, which is the phase you encounter between all of these phases, right? He does this and it creates a big explosion as well. This doesn't happen during this. So he just does that. Just stay away from it. Don't sit in the fire and you'll be fine. The other thing the apparition is doing is placing ground effects like this. That will start burning, right? You'll have some fire coming out of these fucking assholes, right? Don't stand in them. Don't let your minions tank them. Just don't stand in them. It's very simple. So, now that you know what the apparition is doing, very simple. Don't stand in shit. Don't stand in fire. Don't stand in beams. It's not harder than that. Sirus will do 2 things. He will be standing in place, and whenever he casts a spell, he will lock his ability. Now I'm going to put him up here so you guys can see on the screen. So whenever he locks an ability, he will target you or potentially your minion, and he will shoot a big fat beam towards where you are. If you are on the move, this beam will happen wherever he started that cast, which is where you stood when he started casting it, and therefore miss you. So what's the solution? We'll just run around in a circle around him. Then the other ability he does is a quad beam, also known as the die beam, which locks him in place, and he does 4 beams in the same location. These beams are devastating for yourself and your minions. Don't stand in them, convocate your minions out of it, and that's it. So how do we tackle this? Say that he spawns here and then teleports to this location. What you then do is, wherever you are standing, you never want to take this path to him. This path means you're most likely going to die. Best way to approach it is this. Do an arc path around him. Always move as if you're going towards him in an arc. Because wherever he's locking into you, he will always miss you if you just run like this. At the same time as you are dodging, you know, whatever fire anuses that he pops out on the ground from the apparition, right? Or the little star beams, whatever the fuck that's called, right? So always move in an arc. That's all you need to do. As long as you move in an arc, you're fine. So I'm going to paint up another situation. We zoom in and we have the boss being here and you are fighting him. You are standing here. Now, whenever he starts casting, you can see it on the way he behaves, the way he moves. He'll also call out when he's doing the quad beam. All you have to do is this. It's all you have to ever do. Just run around him in a circle. And whenever he's doing the beam, attack him from the other side. Unless you have a build that's always doing damage, like minions or dot builds and whatnot. Only attack when he's casting an ability once you step to the side to avoid being hit by it. That's phase once. And you do this 3 times. Now, what's really interesting with this is that since the mechanics doesn't change between Awakener 0 and Awakener 9, what you can do is you can actually take away stones. Like this. You see the Awakener went down to 7. If I take away all of these stones, it is Awakener 7. And if I take this one away, Awakener 6. I can do this all the way to the point where I have Awakener 0 before I open the map into Sirus. So if you are unfamiliar with the fight and you want to practice the fight, take away every single stone that you have and do the fight with Awakener 0. Practice the fight without killing him too fast. Just practice it. Because if you can do these the 3 phase 1s without ever taking damage, then you can do that in Awakener 9 as well. Or Awakener 8 that most people would encounter, I'd assume. But you can do that. Because if you can do it on 0, you can do it on whatever level you'll ever encounter it. You shouldn't be able to take damage in the first phase 1s, which happens 3 times. There is one more thing happening in phase 1. Sometimes you get ported into the middle. And what then happens is that you get these fucking mazes. First time, there's only one wall. This is a very tricky one because what you have to do is find the exit out of this little rock wall that appears. If you don't get out of this in time, you're going to most likely get one shot. You cannot go this way because that's a wall. You can't go this way because there's a wall. Can't go that way because there's a wall. You can't go this way because there's a wall. And you cannot go this way because there's a wall. So you go this way, right? Second time you encounter him, it may look like this. Let's make that better, right? You'll see these quite clearly. You still can't go that way. There's a wall. However, what you want to do is not this, because that's really stupid. You want to go out and take the longer route. No, that's fucking retarded. So what you want to do is take the shortest route all the way around and then out. Just take the path out and just get out of there, right? That's all you want to do. It's not hard. Anyways, jokes aside, third phase, or the second phase, sorry, which is the 4th phase in general. So the end fight. This is where things get tricky, because now you have a lot of different abilities where the Sirus is merging with the apparition, right? So this is a little bit trickier. Let's say you go in under him, you start the fight here, he's going to be located right next to you. The difference here now is that he will, instead of being locked in place, he will target you and he will rotate around you. And then he will cast the ability. So if he does the beam ability, that's fine. But the quad beam he does, the die beam as it's called, he will, between each shot, it will always be rotating towards where you are, not where you were. So this means that if you are having the boss here, but you are standing over here, very far away from him, the further away from from him that you are, the more dangerous this is. So if you are moving like this, the die beam is going to hit here, it's going to hit here, it's going to hit here, it's going to hit here, right? And this is where simple mathematics comes in place. This path, this turn here is very, 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 very short. He doesn't have to rotate a lot to hit you when you're moving up here. Now we take this example, but we take you in a better position. If you are close to him and he starts shooting the first die beam here, and you are moving here, the next time he casts his beam, you'll be in this position. What then is going to happen, if you're here when the next beam hits, his next beam will shoot here, but you're already further away from him. And then you can move all the way around here, and all the beams will literally just happen around here instead. And he's not able to rotate to you. So the simple strategy is the closer you are to him, the safer you are. Now with this in mind, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. And that is that he teleports. Yay! So let's say he teleported over here and you were fighting him in this position here. We know that we want to be as close to him as possible. So you have 2 things to think about. 1, get to him the fastest you can. This does not mean that you do this. Because if you take this route and he does a die beam, you are dead. There is nothing you can do. You're dead. End of story. So how do we tackle this? Well, he turns around and faces the way he's teleporting. This allows you to see approximately where he went. So if he stood around here and he faced around this area, you know he's going to be around here. You're close to the wall, so taking this route might be a suicide, because if he's close to this wall, which he is in this example, that's stupid. The solution is you do this. A nice little arcway path till you get to him. That's how you approach it. Just use an arc pathway when you're routing to him. What then happens is that if you hear him scream out die, it pops up in the chat and you see the beam, he's shooting a beam here when you stood in this position. The first thing you do is use your mobility skill. So in this case, we use a mobility skill in this pathway. The next two beams will hit here, and the next one will be hit here, and then he will be on your target. But you've already moved to around this position by then, so the next beam will hit here. So because of this, you're dodging every single thing he's doing by simply moving in an arc. If you took this route, sorry, wrong color. If you took this route, you'd be dead. Took this route, you'd have a high risk of dying. By using this pathway, you are guaranteed, if you just have fast reactions, to not die to that ability. Okay, there's a couple of other things to go through. He has an ability where he creates a bunch of copies of himself. Looks like this. He creates a circle. This is a really small circle. It's actually bigger than this. In more cases than not, you will be able to see the first illusion, which will be the real one. And if you didn't catch it, because sometimes your screen can be over here, right? And therefore you're missing and you don't see where he teleported. So if you're standing here and this happens, the first thing you want to do is get to them quickly, and then choose the side to run. And then you start doing the arcway path. Because wherever he starts shooting, you're then able to do a mobility skill and completely miss. He will completely miss everything he's doing on you. And then back on, as say if this was a real one, then you can directly move in to the real one and you start doing the circle strat again. It's very simple. There's a few other mechanics that needs to be taken into consideration. He does a like this, and actually pretty do this. He teleports over here and you are teleported in the middle here. This is what I call left hand, right hand, or 1-2-1-2 ability. What he does is shoots fireballs like this, and these will fly down, right? The thing is, he always casts one side each, so they're repeating one another. So that one will be here. The first one could have been here, and then you had another one over here, and another one over here, and another one over here. So how do you dodge this? Normally, most of us, we would just do a mobility skill and just rush out. And we would literally just take one hit and be done with it. That's why most of the builds that you do Sirus with wants to make sure that you do not get one shot by this ability. That's the only thing that has a high chance of actually hitting you. So if you do get hit, a lot of people panic and they go to the other side and then they take a second hit and die. That is very common. I've done it several times myself. If you take a hit, stay in the fucking lane till you have control of the situation so that you're able to dodge it, right? You can choose not to use mobility skills to make this easier for you. There's no stress. You don't have to panic. You don't have to rush it. Just make sure you don't get hit. You're not taking damage from anything else unless you get unlucky with some fucking fire in the ground here. You can mobility skill past the, not with dash, but like flame dash, blink arrow, all these things allows you to dodge these by blinking it past it and whatnot. Just make sure that if you do get hit, don't panic and run to the other side because you're going to get hit by a second one then. Stay in the lane if you get hit and then, get a control of your situation and move on. That's literally it. It's very simple. He still does the mace phase, but it's 3 layers in this phase. And I don't need to go through that again. Just get out of it. There is one more thing that people don't really know. Sometimes he teleports and he creates an attackable version of himself, which is the real one. And then there's 3 other illusions that spawns as well. It looks like this. I'm going to make a circle on this and say this is the real one. Here's the funny thing. They are going to shoot beams like this into the middle and create a very dangerous pool in the middle that you don't want to stand in. What's very interesting with this is that you want to be able to do damage. Positioning is key here. Where do you want to stand in this phase? First off, there's something that a lot of people don't know, and that is that there's a danger zone. This one here is the danger zone. The other danger zone is here. This is another danger zone. This one is the big one, and if you stand approximately half of the Sirus hit boxes, the thickness or whatever, their size, towards the middle, you're going to be in range of the initial explosion that happens when this turns into 4 rotating beams. So standing inside is not good. So if you're a melee build, you want to be behind him, right? You want to be anywhere around here. And I'll explain where you want to be exactly in a sec. So you want to be behind him because you don't want to be in front of him or directly on the side, because then you take the risk of actually being hit by this explosion and not just the center one. This is dangerous. Don't take that hit. There's no reason for you to take damage from this. When that is understood, he will then spawn beams that will start rotating. These beams, let's see if I can do it this way instead. These beams look like this. And these beams, they rotate counterclockwise. They rotate like this, right? We know that they rotate like this, right? So now that we know all the details of this mechanic, where the fuck do you want to stand? If you stand here, which is a pseudo safe spot, you're going to get hit by the beam rotating. So you want to be on this side. This side means that you have this entire field of time before the next beam's going to hit you. You don't take damage from the explosion. You are doing full damage on the boss. You don't take damage from the beam. You take no damage if you stand in this little piece of cake corner, right? That's it. Very, very simple mechanic. And you can learn this by doing Awakener Zero and therefore not take much damage if you fail on any mechanics. That's why Awakener Zero is a really good way to practice this. So when this then happens, he might, and he will, in more cases than not, teleport the fuck away. And this is where it gets really messy. This is the only time this fight gets messy. Let's say he teleports over here. He teleports away. Sometimes it's very hard to know where he teleported. If you don't know where he teleported, let's say that he is here, but you don't know that he's here. You have no idea that this is where he went because there's so much to focus on. And there's beams now. What do? Well, you have to choose one side to go to. There's only 2 options. You have to walk in an arc to avoid dying. That means left or right, right? So if you're going to take left, well, the beams go in that way. So it's normally better to take the counter side of where the beams are going. And to put it this way, it is better for you to take a little bit of damage from the beam than it is to get hit by his abilities. So in this scenario, I would not go left. I would almost always go right unless I see where he was teleporting. So I would take this route and I would go it like this. Till I see him and I'll be like, oh, now I know where he is. And then I'll continue this pathway. And whenever he does a dive beam, I will just use my mobility skill in whichever way I chose to go. And I'm okay with taking damage from this beam till I can get to him and then continue circling around him. That is all the mechanics you need to give a shit about. And throughout the entire fight, don't stand in fire. Yeah, pay attention. But most importantly, take away all your Awakener Stones. If you don't know these mechanics by heart, take away all the Watchstones. Do the fight in Awakener Zero. And and have sound on is a good one, because he will scream die when he does the quad beam as well. And that's it. Just practice Awakener Zero. Stop paying me and many other people currency to do the fights for you, because you can do this with complete trash builds. And if you can do it in Awakener Zero, you can do it in Awakener 9. And that's it. I'm just going to make a command for this, so that whenever people ask about this, I can just refer them to this video. That's it. If you guys want more of these videos for the other boss fights, let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, because, you know, that helps the algorithm, and you guys are not subscribing unless I'm actually telling you to. So, just do it. Thank you. Yeah, till next time. Stay safe. Keep rocking.